All right, let's jump right in. There is a huge problem in AI governance that honestly stumps almost everyone. What do you do when you are on the hook for an AI's behavior, but you don't actually own the model? It feels like a total paradox, one that can seem pretty much impossible to solve.
You've probably heard this before, right? Heck, you've probably even thought it yourself. It's this really common idea that if you're using a third-party AI, well, your hands are tied. It feels like you're responsible for this black box that you have absolutely zero control over.
But what if I told you that belief is completely 100% false? Because it is. And getting your head around why it's false, well, that's the key to unlocking AI governance that actually works in the real world. This changes everything. And here it is. This is the big idea, the crucial distinction we have to make. We've all been kind of trained to mix up ownership and control. But think about it. You don't need to own the engine of a car to steer it. You just need to know where the steering wheel is.
So how do we find that steering wheel? Well, we use a really powerful tool called decomposition. It's just a fancy word for breaking a complex system down into smaller parts that you can actually manage. And here is the breakthrough. When you don't own the model, you stop trying to break down the AI's brain. That's impossible. Instead, you break down the interaction, the control panel you have right in front of you.
This is where it all becomes crystal clear. Look, on the left, you've got the vendor's black box, right? The model weights, their training data, their internal architecture. You can't govern that stuff. Forget about it. But now, look to the right. That's your world. That's your control panel. The data you put in, the instructions you give it, and, this is so important, how you decide to use whatever it spits out.
And this gets to why this is so critical. If you spend all your energy demanding to see inside the vendor's black box, you are not creating safety, you're creating what we call governance theater. It's a great show, looks very official, but it does absolutely nothing to prevent real harm.
Okay, so let's make this real. How does this kind of failure actually play out with a tool that, let's be honest, a lot of us are using right now? Let's take a super common example, a customer support chatbot. So here's the scenario. A company rolls out a chatbot from a third-party vendor. They don't own the core AI, but they do get to configure its system prompt, its basic marching orders. Then one day, wham, the bot gives a customer some dangerously wrong advice about company policy and it goes out live. It's a classic governance nightmare.
So let's decompose this mess. What couldn't they govern? The vendor's model, obviously. But what could they govern? A lot, actually. The system prompt, the topics it was even allowed to talk about, and rules for when it had to escalate to a human. You see, the failure wasn't in the model itself. It was in treating the AI's output as the gospel truth, with zero guardrails around sensitive topics like policy. The fix becomes obvious. You focus on new configuration limits and clear rules for human review.
Okay, that makes sense for an official tool, I get it. But I know what you're thinking. What about the bigger, way messier problem? What about the AI tools your employees are using that you didn't buy, you didn't approve, and you might not even know about? Welcome to the world of shadow AI.
Let's just be real for a second. Your team is going to use these tools, approved or not. So you have to make a crucial shift in your thinking. Your governance responsibility isn't tied to a purchase order. It's tied to the business decisions that are being influenced by that AI. And you know what? Even without any official admin access, the exact same principles of control still apply. You can set rules about what sensitive company data gets put in. You can govern how AI-generated text gets used in an official report. And you absolutely must govern which business decisions are being shaped by its output. The control is still yours.
This is really the bottom line, isn't it? That company, in our example, they didn't own the model that gave the bad advice, but they absolutely, positively owned the outcome when that advice hit their customer. You might not own the model, but you always own the outcome. So by focusing on decomposition, we've gone from feeling helpless to being in control. We now know where to apply governance, even on tech we don't own. That's a huge step. So the next critical question is, how do you see the early warning signs? How do you learn to spot when your controls are about to fail? Well, that's what we're going to tackle next.